out in South Korea for LIV. LIV making the trip out there. Unbelievable. They played in Mexico City last week. And then going all the way out to the Jack Nicklaus Club in South Korea. Brady Kannon is with us, of course, as always, as we get ready for that to tee off tonight. Brady, before I get to the LIV, we were just talking about, obviously, the Byron Nelson, CJ Cup, whatever the hell they want to call it now, teeing off today. And it was such a tough week. The four of us were all on Jake Knapp. We all got kind of the same few guys. But it's a scary week, Brady, because, Scottie's sitting there. And I have to imagine, well, obviously none of us were going to play him at under 3-1. But you have to imagine he's been hearing everybody for the last few weeks saying now, well, Scottie hasn't won yet this year. Oh, Scottie hasn't won yet this year. Rory's been a better player. He's won a man. Scottie's got to be starting to get into his head a little bit. All right, you want to see me win? Let me take this field that I'm so much better than, and I'll just go smash them this week. And he's we got a long way to go, but he's kind of on his way to that here in his first front nine, Brady.
He's already minus money. He's now minus 150 to win the golf tournament. Can you believe that?
On Thursday.
I mean, I got Rico Hoey, right? I'm on Rico Hoey. I'm feeling pretty good. He gets out to a great start. Scottie says, hold my beer. I just shot 7 under on the front 9, pal. I kind of felt like, to your point, Mike, it was going to be that way. Scheffler is either going to lap the field or we're going to get a long bomb that wins this thing. I think you're looking at, Exhibit A or Exhibit B, one of the two.
Well, that's why I kind of gave myself a little cover underneath, Brady. I said, you know what? I'm not playing 3-1 or plus 280, but 12-1 for first round leader. I usually don't like taking the chalk for first round leader, but if Scottie's going to blow everybody away, I figured 12-1's not bad of a number. So I got a little Scottie first round.
Good for you. Good for you.
If he can, let's see if he could do this on the back 9 like he did on the front 9, and we'll be feeling good. But Rico Hoey, a good selection with a nice 8 under round today. Let's get to LIV, Brady, of course, as they are going out to South Korea. This is the Jack Nicklaus course. Now, I was doing my little bit of research, and I know you have much more extensive than me that you'll tell me now, but this is the course where they have played a President's Cup here before, and I did see, I believe, 10 of the golfers on LIV played in that President's Cup at the Jack Nicklaus course. So tell us a little bit about where we're going here tonight.
Yeah, you're right. 2015, they had the President's Cup there, and I think for the most part, the guys that were involved are probably not guys that are going to be on your radar necessarily this week. Bubba Watson, maybe Dustin Johnson. I've seen some players liking him, and he's been kind of hot and cold as of late, threatening, to show up on the top of some leaderboards. Phil Mickelson. But the one guy I think that you can kind of lean on a little bit that has a real shot and has been playing great, and I believe was at that President's Cup in 2015, is Patrick Reed. And I've seen some people on him as well. I was on him for the Masters. I mean, he very well could have been in that playoff with Justin Rose and Rory as well if he doesn't 3-putt the 13th green. Played very well in Mexico City last week. So I think Reed is a factor. They also played the Korea Championship on the DP World Tour there in 2023 and 2024. And last year it was Benny On who won it. Tom Kim finished second. Now, Kim is not a real big hitter, but if you look at that leaderboard from last year, Benny On is a big hitter. Nikolai Højgaard was up there. Guido Migliozzi from the DP World Tour. There was a lot of really big hitters on that leaderboard. And that's one of the things that first jumped out at me is, boy, it seems to help to have some distance here. And we know Nicklaus tracks usually reward the guys that are good off the tee and also hit a fade. Jack loved to hit the fade, right? Second shot golf course, that's typically what we get with Nicklaus tracks. So I look for guys that were relatively big off the tee or anyway good off the tee, could hit a lot of greens in regulation, good iron play, and if they happen to hit a fade, that was a bonus. That's where I kind of started the handicap this week, Mike.
Well, let's get to it then, Brady. Tell me who you've got, and I will tell you just out of the gates because you just mentioned it. I am one of the guys. I'm taking Patrick Reed this week. I was able to get a 20-1 on him. I'm one of the few guys I actually like rooting for Patrick Reed. I know that that's not allowed because everybody hates him, but I like rooting for Patrick Reed. So when he's playing this well and I'm still getting a 20, because we've talked all these times about how chalky LIV is with Bryson and with Rahm and with – it's Joaquin Neiman, Brady. Can this Neiman, by the way?
I've had Bryson twice. I've had Bryson twice the last two events. Gosh, this guy.
You put your PGA Championship look-ahead article out today, which I haven't gotten to look at yet, but it just brings me back to Neiman because the guy wins like every other event now on LIV. He's winning all the time.
It's true.
Can he finally play well at one of these majors? Could we see Neiman finally on a Sunday in one of the last 2 or 3 groups, like with all these other big guys? Because he hasn't done it, Brady. He just hasn't.
Well, I don't think the British Open is necessarily his cup of tea. It certainly hasn't been the Masters. I'm not so sure about the U.S. Open. I think if he's going to get one, it's going to be the PGA. You're right. That article, I just tweeted it out up at golf.com, 4 early selections, guys that I've been playing really since January, because we've got a golf course in the Quail Hollow Club, Mike, that we've seen before. We've got some history. You know, they used to play the Wells Fargo there every year going back to 2003. So we've got a kind of a jump on what this golf course, you know, who it might reward, who it might favor as far as a skill set, unlike most majors where they go to a different joint every year.
Yep, and we obviously know this will be talked about a lot for 2 weeks. Rory is so good at Quail Hollow. He's been unbelievable at that place after his Masters win. All right, tell me who you got in South Korea tonight.
All right, I started out, and you said it, the LIV, I mean, it's 50 guys. There's really only about 4 or 5 guys that are probably going to be there week in and week out, and then there's maybe a handful of guys that might actually beat them. You know, a Mark Leishman or something like that. I started out with Rahm. I think Rahm's ready to win. His finishes have been 2nd, 6th, 5th, 9th, 4th, number 1 in strokes gained total, number 1 in stroke average, number 1 in par 4 scoring, 2nd in greens and regulation. Here's what put me over the top with Rahm. He hits a big ball. He loves to hit a fade, and he has done extremely well on Nicklaus courses. The Memorial, right? The PGA Tour, Jack's Place. He won there once. He really won there twice. Remember when they pulled him off the course because he tested positive for COVID? Okay, now we play, speaking of COVID, we go to Sherwood Country Club in Southern California in 2020 because they, you know, for the Zozo, they weren't going to go overseas. They keep it here in the States. That's a Nicklaus course. Rahm finished runner-up there. So the combination of Jon Rahm, who finishes literally top 10 every week on the LIV circuit and was 4th last week in Mexico. Now you put him on a Nicklaus track. I had to go there. Then I went with the Dean. You know our love for Dean Burmester. I think he's another guy outside of Joaquin and Hatton and Rahm and Bryson. He's that next tier. He can beat those guys too. And he's big off the tee. Also did very well at a Nicklaus course, the PGA Championship last year at Valhalla, where he finished 12th. And in my long bomb, number 1 on the LIV circuit in driving accuracy, number 4 in driving accuracy, number 1 in greens and regulation, has 2 top 10 finishes already this season on the LIV. Harold Varner III at 49-1. Took a shot with him.
I am with you on Rahm. I know I went to him last week in Mexico City, but I'm going back to him. So me and Brady both Rahm with 6-1. Cameron Smith, I think, playing a little bit better, 18-1 for him. I told you Reed at 20-1. I usually like taking a guy when they're in one of these other countries that's from there. But no South Korea team are so bad, bro. I mean, they never are involved in these LIV events. How about Nah for top 10 at 5-1? Like, I can't take the guy to win. Maybe Nah shows up for one of these Ironhead guys and actually plays
maybe
well.
First-round leader. If you want to bet
first-round
like that.
leader.
Maybe that
could be a good one as well.